So, why do you remain so angry? One of the things that happens whenever we're going through this is at the beginning, especially in the beginning stages, is you're still in shock. You're still not really believing everything that's really happening, and you're questioning what's going on, and you're trying to wrap your head around it. You're stuck in this mode where you're trying to understand what happened. Did you get to this point? What really transpired, and what is going on? And it's really a confusing place to be in because you're trying to reconcile everything that's happened in your life with what they're doing and trying to make sense of it. And when it doesn't make sense, because it doesn't make sense, you're going to get angry with it, and you're going to stay angry for a while on this. One of the things that happens is you start asking yourself, was this really an illusion? Was it really fake? And you try to run through everything that you fought for, that you tried to make happen, that you tried to make work. And whenever it doesn't make any sense, you get stuck in that bitter phase because of all the time and energy and focus that you put into this with really nothing to show for it except for now this chaotic environment where your kids are targeted, you're targeted, and you're trying to make sense of all of it. And then that rolls into the next really big thing, and that is how in the world can they do this to their own children? You can kind of make sense, and at one point you probably will start to make sense of what they're doing to you because, okay, they hate you, quote unquote, and it kind of makes sense. But when you look at what they're doing to the kids and the chaos that they're causing and how they're using them as pawns and they're pitting basically the kids against both parents or basically against you, it really gets frustrating. And part of the problem with this is no matter what happens in this particular stage, it's going to be annoying, right? I mean, if they're trying to cause problems and you can see it, you're going to be mad. If they're trying to pretend like they're mom or dad of the year, it's going to be frustrating. So you get caught up in this situation to where you're trying to reconcile your reality with the false illusion that they're trying to do now. And no matter what happens, it is really frustrating. The next thing that really happens is that you start noticing that it seems like they get away with everything. Now, I don't know about you, but in my situation, it seemed like I was having to jump through these flaming hoops constantly to, answer court documents or whatever, or deal with teachers or trying to deal with appointments or whatever it was. And it seems like the other person just gets a complete break. And what I've noticed from talking in my own situation, talking to other people, is that it really doesn't matter, right? It's like in my situation, you would think that it would be hers to win, right? I mean, stay-at-home mom, easy to basically just run circles around me, but she fought me every step of the way. And more than likely, your ex is going to do the exact same thing. It's like whatever you want or expect them to do, they're not going to do, and it's basically going to be out of spite because you want them to do it. And it's almost comical in the fact that it's like, well, you want me to do it, so I'm going to say no. It doesn't matter whether it's the right thing for the kids or not. If it's your idea, they're not going to do it. You want them to play sports, they're not going to support it. You don't want them to play sports, they're going to push it down your throat. Same thing with appointments. If they have all the time in the world and they know that the appointments, like medical appointments or therapy appointments, are important to you, more than likely they'll basically do everything in their power not to support you. It's really frustrating, and it's just yet one of those things that really kind of hold you back in that bitterness and the anger stage that you just can't seem to get through. So even though it seems like they get away with everything, you really have to look at it from the perspective that they are trapped with who they are. They're not going to be able to change. They're not going to wake up one day and realize all the mistakes that they've made. They live in a total sense of chaos, and they thrive in that environment, so they can't get away from it. So, the problem is it does seem like no matter what, it's like, financially they seem to get away with it. They don't get held accountable via the courts. It really seems like they're Teflon. Like no matter what happens, nothing sticks to them, and they squirm their way out of everything that they try to do. The thing is people do see through it. Okay, your kids see through it. The more that you focus on your relationship with your kids and building your environment, And that gets more distance from you from your ex. And every time that you make a little progress with that, that anger and that frustration starts to go down. Now, I get that it's incredibly frustrating. And, I mean, I got to be perfectly honest. In my situation, I was stuck in that stage where I was really angry and bitter for a really long time. This isn't something that I just, started this and got mad for a day or two and then realized, well, this isn't worth it. No, that's not the way it happens. And even with what I'm saying with this is it takes time for you to process it. So in my situation, the way it worked out is I was angry for a really long time and I was really focused on everything that was happening and I was just bitter. And it took me a couple of years until I got tired of it. I just couldn't do it anymore. It was like I could feel that negative energy and that bitterness was, overshadowing my life and tainting everything I was doing. And I woke up one day and I can't, it's one of those things where it was gradual. It just kind of happened one day where I was just done. I just couldn't do it anymore. I didn't want to give her any more of my emotions, my strength, my thoughts, my whatever you want to call it. I just didn't want to do it anymore. And the problem is, until you get to that point, until you get to the point that you're tired of it, you can't stop. Now, what my hope is by talking about this, you'll see that if you're trapped in that mode, and I know I was trapped, that if you're trapped in that mode, that you're not going to be there forever. If you truly want to get out of it, or you in the back of your mind, you're thinking you can't keep going on like this, you will get through it. You'll get to the point where you get that out of your system, to where you're done with it, and they don't have the ability to really get to you. Now, as I say that, I mean, to be perfectly honest, there's always things that they're going to be able to do that are going to surprise you and shock you until they do it, and then you'll realize, oh yeah, that sounds exactly like the narcissistic playbook. And that's one of those things that happens on a reoccurring basis. But you're going to get to a point to where you'll realize that you want to focus more time and energy on yourself, on your kids, on your home, and building your own future that you want, that in the environment that you want. And then when you get to that point and you're able to look at the fact that you've been able to remove the chaos out of your life, to remove just that black hole of darkness, you'll start to feel a little bit better because you know that you've escaped the situation. Now, again, in my situation, I know that had she done things a little bit differently, had she tried her manipulation a little bit better, played her cards a little bit better. And I think partly in my situation is I had information about what she was actually doing and saying. So when she was trying to create this false narrative or trying to basically suck me back in, I knew what she was saying behind the scenes, so I didn't trust her. It's kind of scary because had I not known that, had she been basically undermining me and behind the scenes for her own gain, she might have been able to convince me, to work on the relationship some more, or to try to come back, or to think that maybe things were going to be different this time, and pulled me back in. And had that happen, there's a strong possibility that I would still be in that situation today. And that scares the crap out of me. So I hope that if you're looking at this, even though this is really painful, and you're stuck in this anger and bitterness, at some point you're going to move on past that and be able to put that behind you. Now, you don't ever really want to forget, because the converse or the flip side to this is you don't want to get to the point where everything is fine. You forget about everything that happened. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying the impact of it is different. Now, if you forget, then there's a possibility that you could just forget everything, all the bad stuff, remember all the good stuff, and then, well, maybe it wasn't so bad. Well, you start making excuses, and you run the risk of potentially pulling yourself back in, which you absolutely do not want to do. So I'm going to wrap this up, but that anger bitterness stage is really tough. And if you're stuck in that stage, it's okay, and know that there's a strong possibility that with time you're going to be able to move past that, and the impact that they have and the control that they have over your emotions is going to start to dissipate. So if you're struggling with this, and maybe you're stuck in the anger mode and the bitterness mode, and you want to comment about that, add in the comments below. If you've dealt with this and you've moved through it, if you could share your story so that people can see that there is life after this, that you do get past it, and it's really kind of an odd process. If you could share that, that would be really helpful. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, please subscribe. And if you haven't had a chance to run over to the dadsurvivingdivorce.com website, if you could do that and sign up for the newsletter, that would be greatly appreciated. And hopefully you're doing okay, and I will chat with you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.